member of, or an actor, character on Lord of the Rings there was the kind of the Gus Fring. So, like an evil hobbit. It'd be so weird, wouldn't it? Yeah. I'm sure
he's thinking already.
Yeah, I'm just, the whole crowd is as well too. But we have questions. People must be wanting to speak to Giancarlo. We're so glad to have him here. Yes, Angela, how are you going?
Good, Simon. How are you?
It's very well, thank you.
Mr. Esposito, thank you so much for coming down to New Zealand. Even though you've been warned about doing too many conventions, I'm glad that you've come down here. I'd just like to know, what was it like working with Spike Lee? You've had such an illustrious career. And did you take away anything from him working on the film that you did with him?
I've done 5 films with Spike Lee and had a great time. You know, oftentimes when a young director comes and asks me to work on a film, I want to hear what their vision is, and of course everything is in the writing. It's important to me to honor what the screenwriter has written. I come from the theater. I've had a life in the theater, in musical comedy as well as drama. So I'm always trying to honor the intention of the writer. So I enjoyed working with Spike, especially because he was so new when I worked with him back on our first film called School Days. And he had great innovative ideas because he wasn't in fear. So when we begin our careers, no matter what we're doing, if we're trained for it, we've spent time studying and allowing ourselves to really soak up and absorb what we want to know to be able to go into our new career, no matter what that is. So it's a very exciting time, and it's filled with electricity for us. And if we can keep that feeling throughout our career, that is to say, if we've chosen something that we really are passionate for and love to do, that feeling should always exist throughout. That should be the undercurrent of what we're doing. We should be able to tap into new ideas and tap into being able to think out of the box, even though we might be in a career, biology, science, whatever it may be, filmmaking, that has been already proven, so we don't feel like we have to reinvent the wheel. So what I'm saying is I enjoyed working with Spike because he had a great amount of creativity in thinking differently about how to show characters on screen. And so I learned from him. I had been acting a long time before working with Spike Lee, so we were able to have a language together that was really extraordinary. And I respect him so much for what he's done. At that point in time, there weren't many African Americans being able to show themselves on film. And we were considered in the film world a minority, and Spike opened up that landscape for all of us, so I have a deep and abiding respect for him. I think the quality of his work has gotten better and better, and I think he's become the writer now that I always wished he was in the beginning, but because he wasn't completely organized as a writer, it gave me the opportunity to bring a lot of what my strengths are as an actor to his material. So we brought each other to our best selves. So really enjoyed my time with Spike, and I hope that one day we'll be able to reunite and do something again.
Another question happening right here.
Hello, Giancarlo.
Hi.
So nice to speak to you directly. I'm a really big fan of Breaking Bad, and I wanted to know a little bit more about Gus's character, because I think in the show, his background was quite unintentionally ambiguous, so we don't know a lot about his past and his history, and I was wondering if you knew anything about that, if you could tell us from your actor's perspective, or if the writers gave you any information that was withheld from the audience just to help you with your performance.
Yeah, sure. You know, many times when you get a character that's written, as in the Breaking Bad scenario, for me, Vince Gilligan was so brilliant in laying out a story, which is the story of Walter White. And I certainly was brought into the show as a guest star, who the intention of the writers was to have me around for a couple of episodes and more than likely kill me, as they had done prior with Tuco. But what my job is as an actor is to fill up what's in between the writing, what's in between the page. And so that's part of what I do, so that I have created a full character coming to the screen. Even though you're not told what that character's background is, it's my job to create it for myself, because it makes me more complete in my own eyes, and then you'll see that background. But there was no background on Gus whatsoever. It was just that he was sort of an untouchable guy who ran a business. But there was one line that...
Hunter and Brandon Lodge's party, please come to the information. Hunter and Brandon Lodge's party.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I gotta
We're going to have her killed straight away.
go. We're back. But Vince Gilligan wrote one line which was hiding in plain sight. And to me, it was intriguing to me. And I talk about it a lot because it was one of the inspirations that I was able... No! Shut up! Nowhere! I'm not here! It was one of the inspirations for me in particular because I realized how many times do we think we know people but we really don't. And the next day they might be in the newspaper and they're our neighbor who's done something reprehensible or done something fantastic. You know, we don't know much about each other sometimes on the surface just from looks or even talking to someone or having known them for a long time. And I thought that is something to investigate. So when I started to think in that way, Vince could see it. He could see that I was just a mild-mannered manager of Los Pollos Hermanos. But there was something I was hiding. And how many people hide things. Gus was the guy who gave to the fund run, he gave to the hospital. He did all these great things, and he was running a business. And he had a moral compass. And even though he did things that were reprehensible, he had a moral compass. So for me, I gave myself an exercise to stay really calm, to be observant, but also to protect my family. The family of workers at Los Pollos Hermanos, the family of folks that he hired at the laundry, all of the things he did was to protect that business and to keep it operating, but to keep people working. When he really fostered his relationships, extended his relationships to the chemists that he hired, he was trying to bring them to their best self because they couldn't afford to go to college or whatever it was. Let's make a deal. I'll put you through school, you come and work for me for a couple of years, and then you're free. So I created in my thinking, I created a guy who was complicated. Vince saw this, we started to talk more about it when he asked me to stay around, and then it just grew from there. So I did my homework because I was inspired by what was written, and then in turn, that inspired the writers to write more. I didn't really care if they killed me in 3 or 4 episodes, but I did say to Vince, there's an opportunity here to create a very different kind of villain, if that's what you're looking for. A very different kind of human being than we're used to seeing. In most of my work, hi darling. Yeah, come join us. We'll have tea. Absolutely.
Hey, she really has to stop that. Can we send someone to stop that place? Because it's ridiculous.
She's probably right back there torturing us. So that's kind of how it worked. And if you think about it, and I'll make an analogy for life, you know, for an actor, I want to work and I want to act. I want to be around on the show as long as possible to really cultivate all the little different bits and pieces I can to make the show the best, but also to show my best side. However, when we do something, all of us on Breaking Bad, we're very conscious of trying to serve the material and not trying to top each other. So, for example, when I met Walter White, Bryan Cranston, we had an immediate... He was the first person to meet me when I flew in and got off the van from the airport. And we had a very, very wonderful synchronicity with each other. And it carried over to our work. So we were really connected somehow. And we immediately liked each other. But what happens is, when you're in a situation like that and you're with a really great actor, you sometimes might be trying to top that actor, or you're trying to make great music together. And if you're trying to make great music together, it serves the material, and all of a sudden, there's chemistry. And that's what they saw. They saw this chemistry between me and Bryan that was really kind of intriguing, and they decided, hey, listen, we got to keep going with this, and they kept me around for a few seasons, which is pretty good.
That's great. I want to follow up on a few points there. Thanks for the questions. I just want to say, Bryan Cranston has a remarkable sense of humour. You obviously have a great sense of humour as well too. That would have helped even with evil characters and finding your characters. I'm intrigued that they didn't give you backstories. You made up your own backstory, but did you chat about it with Bryan Cranston and people?
No, not my backstory with Bryan, but with Vince, because Vince was convinced after I started to really talk about my backstory that Gus was Chilean. He was from a very influential family, probably a very rich family, maybe even a military family, and he was untouchable. So there were those pieces that Vince absolutely knew about. In fact, when Breaking Bad ended, he said to me, would you come and do You Better Call Saul maybe for one episode. I said, it's possible, and it was between his choosing whether it would be You Better Call Saul or The Rise of Gus. Because there's so much background work that is available, material for Gus, and I don't know if that'll ever happen, but it would be great if it could. But Brian and I didn't talk about background at all, interestingly enough. Some things you keep secret, so that there's still that yearning to know when you're on screen with that actor. Because Brian certainly didn't know who I was. Who is this guy who's elegant? He's going to invite me to dinner, and is he going to kill me, or is he going to cook for me? You know, all those things no pun intended.
So you keep the mystery between the actors.
Yeah, people ask me, could Gus cook? And of course Gus could cook. Gus was probably, one of the best chemists there were, but you never did see him cook, which is interesting, right? There's a lot of material to mine if we were able to have the opportunity to do a show that's about Gus or from Gus's viewpoint,
Fantastic. You've been very patient there, so thank you very much. Next question here, your name?
My name is Ben. I just want to say that Breaking Bad is easily one of the best TV series ever made in the whole world. When my brother-in-law said to me that he had watched more than me, he said, "Have you met the chicken guy yet?" And I said, "No." And once I saw it, I was like, this is class. But the one thing I want to ask you is that episode 4:1, Box Cutter, is that scene when you basically walk in and you say nothing for about 4 or 5 minutes. And the whole time Walter White's going crazy and trying to convince you why you need to keep her. Now, was that a creative decision from you or whatnot to not say anything? Because I know musicians, they always say that it's not what you play, it's what you don't play. And in that case, that scene was so intense for the fact that you didn't say anything, you just walked around calm as and look how all of a sudden everything happens.
Please come to the information desk. Taimani to the information desk. Thank you.
God, I'm beginning to like her. Just keying into her voice. Look at me, Ben. Look at me. I wish I was that brilliant to have written that Box Cutter episode where I didn't say anything. I have great respect for silence, and a lot of what really worked for me in creating Gus was the space. I made it a point to speak slowly, to really take people in. And it creeps people out when you zone in on them and you're really connected to them because we're so disconnected, or we're doing 3 things at once. So when I do that, it makes some people uncomfortable because I'm looking at every part of it. It's like I'm almost looking through them. That was completely in Vincent Gilligan's writing. Brilliance. I respected it because, and it was a great challenge, because as an actor, especially, Brian we all know that Brian is a very comedic kind of actor. We never stop, man. We'll just keep going. We'll riff, we'll tell stories, we'll tell jokes. We'll do all those things that you do as actors because that's what we've been trained to do. And my exercise for myself with Gus was to do the opposite. Was not to act at all, not to try to give any energy whatsoever, but to accept energy and observe other people's energy. So when that episode came up for me, I was actually nervous about it, but I knew it would be a brilliant moment in my career. Because I knew I teach acting, and acting is a physical thing. I'm Italian, half black, I gesticulate, I like to joke around, but I use my body to serve me. And I wanted to use my body as Gus to serve me, but I wanted my body to do nothing. When that episode came up, it was, to me, I love the theater, so I love Harold Pinter. And we have in the theater, we have something called Pinter pauses. He wrote a play called Waiting for Godot, where there are these long pauses. If you see the play and it's not done well, you're going to sleep. You're going to go right to sleep. It's like, why are they not saying anything? But they're leaving space. What do we sometimes need in our lives, in our communication? We're so quick to answer. We think we know what the other person's going to say. We don't. So instead of listening, we jump on what they're saying. Oh, I know what you mean. Or I can relate to that. Or blah, 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 blah. We have dribble of the mouth. And so I wanted that particular episode to be full of calm, but full of something else. And that's intention. And my intention was to do what I had to do in those moments. People ask me, why did you kill Victor? I killed Victor because Victor was exposed. He had been seen at Gail's killing. So he had to go because he would have been fingered and he would have led everybody back to Gus. But it was a great moment for me just to walk around and have the intention of wanting to be threatening, knowing that who I had to deal with in that moment. I knew from the beginning that I was going to kill Victor, but it was a great opportunity to send a message to Walter and Jesse.
Fantastic. These are very thorough answers we're going to hear. Your role as a director and all the plays and things you've done there, you won an award for Best Supporting Actor, you've been nominated for another, you've been through so many different aspects of acting and all that kind of thing there. When you come to play a character which is so intense as Gus, and the one that causes people to be a bit sort of fearful when you're around, you know, as it's been reported, because that's true, is that people get a bit scared when you're around, and you notice that as well too. You get that wonderful feeling where you go, I've done a good job, but I just don't stop being so scared.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people don't know me to be laughing and smiling and joking. They know me to be more somber and more threatening. It makes me feel proud that I did a great job. And sometimes the lines get blurred, whether people know me just from being on screen or really know who I am. So I use it all the time. I use it to get into good restaurants, you know? I use it to get a good hotel room. What do you mean you don't have a suite? What are you talking about?
You must get everything.
I mean, you know, I gotta have some fun with it, right? And if they really give me guff, then I just go for the box cutter and show them a piece of green, and I'm in, man. It's, you know, I don't wait online for clubs anymore.
And what about that? So, but because you've directed, because you were in films that I grew up with, it was King of New York and all that kind of thing as well there too. Working with Christopher Walken, seeing all these different aspects there, and by the way, you've aged incredibly well too. You've got this kind of Will Smith Pharrell gene that makes you don't age. You look,
thank you.
You look fantastic. Sorry, I'm just saying it looks really
thank you.
That's not being overbearing, I'm just saying it looks good. You look good. And you take all of that and you when you're being directed, you become an actor, right? You stop being...
Absolutely.
You turn off your director.
Absolutely. And people ask me a question, when you go to movies, do you pick them apart? I don't.
Okay.
I'm a movie fan from a very young age, and no, when I'm an actor, I'm an actor. I'm trying to do everything I can to be the channel for what the director's asked me to do and what the writing has indicated. If I can help make it better, then I'm going to suggest, because, I have this feeling, I get excited, you know? And it's that passion I'm talking about that we want to share for all of you to have in your life. It's the reason why I come to Comic-Cons, is because you guys get a chance to live out your dreams, to play, to do all the world's a stage, to do your acting, to have fun and meet your people that you love to see, to dress up and take pride and courage as well in becoming someone that you may not be for this day and tomorrow and the day after. So I do the same thing as an actor. I want to be able to embody the character completely, and I want to give suggestions that aren't coming from my ego, but are coming from my gut. That, something tells me that this dude has a future. I mean, this is a great, complicated character you wrote, you created. How can I bring new ideas to that so that we can further him, keep him around longer, and make him even deeper, even if he has to die in the next episode? That creates an excitement. So I still have this great passion for what I do. And I wake up in the morning as an actor, and I'm completely an actor. Of course, I ask some directorial questions that would help the scene, like where is the camera going to be, and what lens are you on, and what angle are you coming in at, so that when we're acting together and the camera's there, I can use my knowledge to help us by saying, Simon, you got to be over here so you're not completely looking at me. Yeah. So no,
it works.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So so that the camera is catching, even in photographs. Well, I don't want to be like this with you. We're going to do a mean look to each other. I want to be sort of like this, so the camera catches one of your eyes and one of my eyes. So we have the same look. Yeah, exactly. Good man.
Love it. Speaking of bravery, here's one to this man getting extremely brave, waiting there so long. Sorry, so your question.
So I was wondering, like, throughout your acting career, what role was your favorite to play? What role do you really think defined you as an actor?
Wow, it's so interesting because I've done so much, so I'm going to answer my pat answer. My pat answer is the role that I love that's defined me is the role I'm playing now. It's the role that I'm doing today. And I say that because if I get attached to the roles I've played, I can tell you what some of my favorites are. I can tell you what some of the ones that have really titillated me and really helped put me over the top. Of course, Bugging Out and Do the Right Thing. There's no doubt that Gustavo Fring is and I love Gus. In a way, I hate Gus because he's more famous than I am. But the role I'm playing now is the role that gets all of my attention. So I say that only because it's a lesson to remind myself and all of us that to be present in that present moment is all that I can be as an actor. I can walk around as Gus for the next 10 years and be puffed up that I did a great job and that the guy is an icon. But that doesn't, it forwards my ego, it doesn't forward my craft. I've done Gus, I want to do more. I've been turning down Gus-like roles to be present in the role I'm playing now. So what I'm about to do is, what am I doing? I'm playing a guy in the Maze Runner series in that franchise. I'm doing Scorch Trials. We're starting to shoot in 3 weeks. I'm excited about this new character I'm going to create. But there's certainly been mile markers in my career of characters I've played. Tom Neville was another mile marker after Gus. After playing Gus to be Revolution, thank you guys are Revolution fans. I didn't know how to play a guy who was another, badass. How would I play him and make him original? And what I do is I don't go to movies, I don't go to theater, I stay in my little hole, I write things down about the character and figure out who is this guy? Who is he? As a fresh new start for me. So my favorites are the roles that I'm currently going after and cultivating and trying to create now.
Here we are, what an answer. And Pikachu sat down a while ago. Thank you very much for your question, that's fantastic. Next question's here. Question, sir.
For the period of time you've been in New Zealand, have you had the chance to try out fish and chips?
Wow, good question. I like that. I haven't, but now, my mouth is kind of watering. I haven't eaten today yet. You have any fish and chips with you?
I wish I did.
Hey, well tell me, do you have a suggestion of where I might get some good fish and chips?
In Pakuranga.
Pakuranga. I imagine that's pretty far away, huh?
Yeah, lovely. All right, excellent. Next question, please. Thank you very much. Got quite a few questions lined up here, so we'll get through them. Hello.
Hi, I'm just showing you a little bit. Hi, I'm Melanie. Just want to say, I haven't actually seen Breaking Bad, but I love you in Revolution. You play a real stone-cold killer, but still kind of likeable. How much training do you have for those fight scenes?
Not a lot at all. Sometimes we did some of those fight scenes exactly on the day. And it's a great question. Jeff Wolf, our fight instructor, was really great. He won the Emmy for the show. He caught on that we would just kill each other as actors, fighting each other because we want to make it look real. So, and all those fights with my son, we would just get into brutal slugfests and at the risk of hurting each other. So what he would do is he'd put me in with my son. J.D. Pardo played my son in the show. He put his stunt double in with me, so I'm able to hit the stunt double. Yeah. Wow. Like, yeah, you hit him. I'm like, no, I don't want to hit him. He's a human being too. No, hit him. That's his job. We're paying him to punch him. Wow. So I could hit him, and he'd come close to hitting me, and then we do the exact same opposite thing on the day when